Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks is not a very hard game for me to beat, so for the sake of content, I'm gonna make it a bit harder by trying to unlock its most difficult achievement on Retro Achievements. Proof of Minimalism. Beat the game without obtaining more than one health upgrade, and no ability upgrades. I saw some people recommending that you play as Kung Lao as he makes the challenge easier, so naturally I picked Sub-Zero and played on hard difficulty. There wasn't anything special about Goro's lair, as you don't acquire any upgrades while down there. Onis can be instant killed by setting them on fire, and after you get out of the pit, they can largely be ignored. Although I didn't use it much, fatalities are a great way of getting rid of an annoying enemy if your health is low. Here's a tip I found out on my own. If you miss the sword during the Oni Warlord boss fight, you can use this special throw and run off the back of an Oni to get back up to this pillar to grab the sword. There, you learned something. The Wuxi Academy is where I encountered my first health upgrade. It looks so nice.
So green and shiny.
But I'm not going to collect it, so I avoided it and picked it up. Crap!
You've got to be fucking kidding me.
Sub-Zero accidentally slid into it. Just so you know, I had to replay everything up until that point, again. After avoiding the health upgrade, I left the academy with little to no problems. Sub-Zero is the worst character in the game, and any combat upgrades weren't really going to help me right now. He's the only character that has a special move that can't be upgraded, which is ridiculous. The Evil Monastery is where I acquired the mortality required to progress. It's also where the run's first death occurred, as demon captains are some of the most aggressive enemies ever put in a video game. I like how he falls over like a sleepy graveyard shift worker after work. You know, I can relate to that. Use Sonya's slide. Alright, I'll try that. That works. I'm going to continue to do that throughout the whole game. The Katana, Jade, and Melina boss fights were not that hard. You don't really need a strategy. Sub-Zero's air combos and throws are fine enough to beat them. The living forest. Ugh. Oh god, it smells awful here. After feeding the hungry trees to reveal his lair, I fought Reptile. The first half of the fight is really easy, with or without upgrades. I mean, just look at the footage. I'm making him look like a flying ragdoll. Alright, he's dead. Time to make this challenge more interesting and difficult. Before I took a portal to the Soul Tombs, I started the smoke missions. The first one is simple. For the Soul Tombs, I employed a strategy I don't see other people using. First, I unlocked the door that blocks you from fighting the Orochi Hellbeast. But instead of going to fight him, I picked up the sword that was lying about, destroyed Shang Tsung's collection of souls, and then used the sword against the Hellbeast. But because recording YouTube videos automatically makes challenges twice as hard as they should be, I died. Now onto Baraka. Sub-Zero's freeze was effective against him. I couldn't do long air combos because Baraka has a spinning anti-air move that takes a lot of your character's health. It's better to use a launcher, one air attack, than a throw. That works like a charm. I'm not sure if it's my controller, but I couldn't aim properly at these burning monks, and they burned me to death. This is annoying. You have to trade projectiles with Baraka. Sometimes I can get a rhythm with the freeze, but I didn't do a good job of that. After that, I impaled the two swords and let Shang Tsung do his thing.
Fatality.
I was starting to get cocky at this point, thinking that I wouldn't die up until the Shao Kahn fight. Yeah, I was wrong about that. The Wasteland features a few distinct sections, and I died in almost all of them. The first section requires you to throw elemental knights into a pool of blood and allow Raiden to smite them. I'm sure the knights are programmed to run out of the smite zone because they don't stand still, similar to almost every other enemy in the game. They also have this 2-hit combo that feels like it's unblockable, but it's not. Yeah, test your might, whatever. Let's just get on to the next section. This second section is a cold day in hell. It's a mirror match with Sub-Zero. Did you see that 3-hit combo? If that's his first attack, it's always unblockable, so you better use the save shrine outside of this area before you do this fight. If you do an air combo that has more than 3 hits, he does an anti-air. If you throw your freeze at him, he slides into you. You do your Sonya slide, he's invincible now. I managed to defeat him without dying on my first try, but the fight ended so close that any one of his attacks would have killed me. This boat section is very boring. These bloody skeletons jump aboard the ship, and you're supposed to throw them overboard, but I killed them to get some health. I tried to see how high my combo counter could get. That's pretty high. Now that we're off the boat, you throw the enemy onto the spiked wheel so that Sub-Zero can create a blood wall you can climb on. If you look closely, this bloody wheel has a lot of detail on it. It's only really visible if you're playing in an emulator and you upscale to 1080p. This guy was giving me a lot of trouble, so I Falcon punched his torso out of existence.
Fatality.
Right before the Goro fight, this embarrassing death happened. Goro is straightforward and easy. Sonya's slide is so effective against him. Yep, there's not much to say about this. This just happened the entire fight. After I acquired the swing ability from the Deadpool, I headed back to the Wuxi Academy to kill Ermac. Ermac was a real challenge. He blocks and parries everything, meaning I could only hit him randomly. The most unfair aspect of it all is that when his health is halfway depleted, he cheats by animating this Johnny Cage statue to life. So while I was focused on trying to get rid of Stone Johnny Cage, he was force lifting me up and slamming me down. By the time Johnny was gone, my health was so low that it only took a few hits for me to die. I can't rely on air combos because every boss in this game has an anti-5-hit air combo mechanic programmed into them. If I bought some of Sub-Zero's combo upgrades, it would have made it way easier, but I can't do that. Okay, at this point I decided that it would be best to just finish the smoke missions before I beat the game. Quest 3 has always been my favorite because of how unique it is. You have to sacrifice 3 Tarkatans in this torture room. Here's what all 3 look like. As morbid as it sounds, I wish there were more missions like this actually. Especially when you compare it to Quest 4, which is so easy and boring. The last quest is arguably the hardest, although it wasn't really a challenge for me. The pit, or as Smoke calls it, the frozen peaks, there's no limit to how many times you can throw an enemy off the bridge. And I think this quest would have benefited from there being a limit. That would have made it way more fun instead of just watching the same animation over and over again. It does feel pretty cool to be called a savage, though.
Savage.
Okay, we have one more thing before I head back to my main quest, and that's fighting Mileena. One thing I'd like to mention is how cool the trees and bridges are in this area before you fight Mileena. They look really cool. I think it would have been cool if they made this more of a platforming section where you had to jump across different trees and bridges. Anyway, without her sisters, Mileena is much simpler. You can throw these Wuxi Academy guards into this portal. Mileena doesn't put up a fight like Ermac did, so much so that Katana joins in and punches her right in the face. I sure hope we don't see her again captured or anything. Now that all the side quests were done, I headed to the Netherrealm to fight Scorpion. Doing the challenge this way caused a major difficulty spike. Scorpion likes to do this thing where he doesn't get stunned by hits, then he'll spam his spear or his leg takedown. He stun locked me so hard here that the game had to screw him over in order for me to have a fair advantage. A good tip here is to just run along the bottom because you can't get set on fire unless you fall into lava. Scorpion doesn't like that though, so he tries to set me on fire in this small little area here, but I avoided every single flame because I'm awesome. I dragged him down from his little pillar and beat him up. Found out that Sub-Zero's freeze ability actually comes in handy against Scorpion. It even allowed me to interrupt one of his attack animations, which I thought was really cool. Something strange happened the second time I tried to pull him back down. For some reason, the test your might gauge immediately went down when it was not supposed to, which caused me to take more damage than I should have. But whatever, I beat him. Except, if you've played this game, you know that Scorpion actually comes back. And the second phase is even harder than the first one. Sub-Zero's freeze is now useless, and he's starting to do that thing where he doesn't register attacks again. Also, Scorpion starts blocking like 90% of your moves. All these things added up to Inferno Scorpion killing me.
Finish him.
The only reason I was able to beat him the second time was because I entered the fight with virtually full health. Well, this is it, the final part of the game. This was infuriating. Look how tantalizing these upgrades look. First hitch occurred early in the foundry. This room contains 2 demon generals and an Orochi hell beast. These generals do so much damage even when you block their attacks, and if you don't block, you're screwed. The reason they are down here is because you have to launch them into these meat hooks that activate this platform you have to climb on. One extra troll from the developers is putting 2 extra demon generals right before you have to leave the room.
Some level designer is really fucked up.
Okay, I got the sword and opened the door. It's time to face Shang Tsung. Shang is tough. He blocks too much, his fireball attacks do way too much damage, and one of his throws regenerates his health slightly. He also transforms into 3 other characters, Sub-Zero, Reptile, and Johnny Cage. I was puzzled as to why he doesn't morph into any other characters. Johnny and Reptile are easy to juggle and combo, but Sub-Zero is still as aggressive as he was earlier. It's best to wait for Shang Tsung to morph into the 2 easier combatants. Patience is key here. Kintaro is unpredictable. At any moment he can launch into the air and deliver these massive stomps that can be hard to avoid. The slide is super effective, but I had to watch out for Kintaro randomly getting a punch in. It's important you don't get hit so you can have as much health as possible before fighting Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn is the toughest enemy in the game. When you fight him, you need to accept the fact that you will be shoulder charged at least once. It's too fast to dodge. When you decapitate Kintaro, his head is permanently available as a throwable object. It does good damage, but for some reason, Shao Kahn kicked it every single time I threw it at him, so no damage was done. I believe this often happens when you play on hard. The first time I fought him, I had full health, but his attacks do so much damage that I stood no chance during his second phase. Of course, Shao Kahn's fight has a second phase. You're probably aware of the infamous hammer spin. If you get hit by this once, it's over. I had years to practice, so avoiding this move wasn't too difficult. But my heart was beating so fast whenever it happened, because at any moment, it can kill you.
Fatality.
Every time I got so close to finally winning, you took it away from me. On my final attempt, I went in with a sliver of health. All it would take was one hit, and I was going to quit this challenge. I could feel my heart pounding through my chest. My attacks did so little damage. But after nearly 2 hours of attempts, I finally did it. My glory will forever be displayed on the Retro Achievement site, which you can check out in a link in the description.